Hello, welcome to Cinemondo with Kathy. I am here fresh. Understand Captain Miller. Oh my god. This will be a spoiler-free review. Don't want to ruin it for anyone because everyone needs to see this movie. There. Okay, I guess spoiler alert, I liked it. This is the third film by Arun Matheswaran, and I have become a huge fan. I saw Rocky, got my hands on a screener, blew me away. Cannot wait to see his second film. There's also a second film, which I'm planning to watch very soon. Sani Kayadayam. Really looking forward to see that after I have seen these two films. Couldn't keep me away. I have now seen Captain Miller. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. They've been doing some great marketing. We've had great posters, we've had teasers, and a lot of it was animated, which was interesting. Animated and illustrated, which I really liked. So this is a Tamil film, 2024, directed by Arun Matheswaran. It stars Dhanush, who's fantastic. I mean, the guy can rock the man bun, I'm telling you. So the reason I really wanted to see this is that I loved Rocky. It was beautiful. The cinematography, I mean, my God. I think the other star of this movie is definitely the cinematographer. Siddhartha Nuni, a genius. He can take an action film and bring a poetry to it, which he did. There's some gorgeous scenes. It can even be as low, like a low angle of people walking across a vista, and it just looks epic and beautiful and desaturated. And it just brings an artistry to an action film that they don't require. And so you feel like you're getting something elevated. It's not just an action film. We have Dhanush, who makes the character a lot more complex than your standard action film. He has to go through a kind of transformation so he joins the British against his own people because he just feels like they're going to take care of him. And then when they force him to do a terrible act, he decides to say it. I'm not doing it. So that happens pretty early on. So you have some motivation. So then he becomes kind of a rebel. So he's basically leading a resistance against the British Army, as they well should, because the British are terrible in this. I mean, yeah. So I love the music in this film too. It was its own character. It was G.V. Prakash, and each music cue was its own personality, its own thing. We had the classic, we had the Captain Miller theme that was kind of thread through most of the movie, and when it kind of appeared, you got kind of this chill. Usually the moment when something was going down or it gave you the emotion you're supposed to have. But each scene kind of had its own theme. It had its own music, and it was really well done. It complemented the action, but then also like drove the energy. So I really enjoyed that. When it needed to be sensitive, it was sensitive. When it wasn't. But it wasn't just the standard theme over and over. Like he did custom music, which I thought was great. I think the main reason that I really love Arun Matheswaran films is that he brings that extra beauty to films that you would not expect. Rocky was the same way. It had these incredibly sophisticated cinematic framings, like a lower third, tiny bit of action with a bunch of negative space. Like he is the king of negative space. I guess that's more Siddhartha Nuni because he is half of this equation. I mean, he is the star because that's what makes this movie special. So the first half before the interval is kind of building the character and the conflict. There's some action, but they're saving it. As we all know, it's the finale will be the great stuff. So, but we have this nice buildup. We get the characters kind of in place. We're getting it all kind of worked out. And they also have some great female characters. Some female characters aren't just these side, romantic interests. Like they themselves want to be rebels. I mean, seeing these women with guns walking with the men, it was really powerful. And it just shows you that this transcended age, gender, and it was just gave me chills. So good. They had some great action set pieces where it was stuff I haven't seen before. Now, I've seen a lot of action movies, a lot of action, a lot of horror. They had a fantastic scene where the British Army, and this is not really a spoiler, coming toward where the rebels are waiting, and they had a lot of their dead British soldiers hanging on stakes, basically. And the British are like, "Oh, we're gonna have to go back, get revenge, get revenge." What happens in that scene? So well staged, so beautiful. I mean, literally saying out loud, "Whoa, how is this happening?" And Dhanush is fantastic. He starts off with the Captain Miller. As our British Army soldier, he has just a mustache. He's very clean cut.
Captain Miller.
He's got the uniform, and he just looks in the mirror like, "This is who I am now." And he kept saying, Captain Miller. Which I love the title too. It just has a cool sound to it. Then as he's transforming into the rebel, he's being filled with the spirit of resistance. Like there's these great dance, that's not even dance, but music sequences where he's just like writhing with the music, and he has the paint on his face, and it's just so beautiful and wild, and you just kind of see him like embodying what he needs to do. And it was just a great way to kind of let that spirit in. He wore like this red scarf. It wasn't just a red scarf, it was used as an icon. So there's a great scene right before the interval where he's on his motorcycle, and you just see this red scarf kind of blowing and then hit interval. I mean, it's just such a gorgeous, just visual graphic thing to see this big sky with this beautiful red scarf. They did not waste anything in this film. This was gorgeous. It was original. They had some great, action camera work where it had to be a drone. I have no idea, but they would have like this camera angle where it goes over these jeeps that are heading toward the British Army, and it spins around over the jeeps, and then the jeeps get bombed and it spins with them, and the people are flying. And that's the one thing. The action is much more broad and dramatic than it was in Rocky. Rocky was very, very grounded. You could feel the pain, very small and brutal. This is big and glorious. This is like Aaron with a big budget. So it's almost like it's heading into RR territory, but with a more serious context. So he keeps it a little more grounded, but this is like jeeps flying and blowing up, bodies flying through the air. I mean, the one soldier gets kicked and he goes flying through the air into a huge inferno, and they're not playing it subtle here. Once you get past the interval, this thing just picks up. It just takes off and runs with it. Then we get the big action scenes. We get the great battle scenes, and one-on-one. We have some incredible action in the second half. Really, really enjoyed that. The first part, they set you up. Second part, they execute. And that is what happens. And it was just beautifully crafted, as always. Arun Matheswaran, to me, the main reason I like him is like his movies have a level of craftsmanship that you do not see. It's just everything is thought out, intentional, thoughtful, beautiful. Even when it's an action film that's not asking for that, he gets that, and you appreciate the difference. It's not just camera static, look at the action, wires. It was like that camera is its own active character. This has a little less of the quiet spaces that Rocky had, and then the sudden violence. This is more like a intentional ramping up, and then intensity, and it gets bigger and bigger. And again, the action is much bigger. It still has that thoughtful framing. The camera itself is telling you its own story. It's all in the actors and the cinematography. This thing, you can watch it, and I think that's what makes it a strong film, is that this isn't just a script and it's just telling you a story. This is like showing and acting through an emotion, and I think it really does a great job of that. Some of the story beats, the caste system, the British colonization, the resistance, the villagers versus the military. It brings a freshness to it that I haven't seen. And I thought that was really well done. And nobody gets off a motorcycle with more purpose and more flair than Dhanush. He just blew me away. I haven't seen a ton of Dhanush films. I saw Gray Man. It was not good. Not a good movie, but he was great in it, and they should have used him more. That's all I'm saying about that. I think he is fantastic. I'm going to start searching out some more of his films. Be sure and tell me in the comments, like, what are the Dhanush films you would recommend me watch? Because I'm not seeing a ton. I would like to see a ton. Thank you. So please direct me to some of your favorite films that he's done. I mean, Dhanush handles the dichotomy of being a traitor to his own people and then being lesser than by the Brits. Even though they recruited Indian men to fight for them, they never really respected them. But I like that complexity because they start out that way and then he did not. I mean, he could see through it. He got to see the real thing. The British actors are a little over the top. I'll have to say that. A little cartoony, but that's okay because they are the villains. And who knows? I mean, I'm sure it feels that way. That's how they feel, terribly villainous. So you do not feel bad for them. There's also kind of a side character is kind of fun to watch. He has these sunglasses on, and a sort of side character, but he's always there, and he's always bringing it, and he's always like facilitating the plans, but he's just kind of there in the background, but kind of flashy, like a little outside the time. And I really enjoyed that. Just like a little extra flair. You could see that some of this is made for the visual effect and just for depth. They want not just one certain kind of character. They're going to bring you something a little familiar, which I thought was an interesting idea. Arun Matheswaran is a visionary. I've said that before. I said when I watched Rocky, I'm saying it now because he is. I mean, I have not seen any films quite like this. Highly recommend this film. Highly recommend Rocky. Highly recommend Arun Matheswaran. Highly recommend Siddhartha Nooni, because that is the secret sauce that Arun Matheswaran has going for him when it comes to shooting these films. Is he has a man who understands the visual language in a beautiful way and brings Arun Matheswaran his trademark look. There's a little bit of black and white, not as much as in some of his other films, but there's enough to kind of set apart where you are in time and what is happening, and it gives that extra layer. Definitely see this film. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about this. It's so hard to talk about with having to give anything away. I'm trying not to. I hope I didn't. But I'm really interested in hearing. Apparently, it's doing really well in the box office. It's getting really good reviews. I can see why. It's just gorgeous. So definitely subscribe, like, and comment. I want to hear from you guys in this. I really want to talk about this movie. So we could talk about spoilers in the comments. Make sure everybody knows there's spoilers in the comments. And I will talk to you guys later.